Boy, oh boy, let me tell you, there's some serious politics going on in Washington right now that I am excited to talk about. You guys know I love talking about the game within the game of politics, and I'm trying to tell you, there's some heavy chess going on right now between Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Mitch McConnell regarding funding the government and increasing the debt ceiling, right? The debt limit, right? And this is a big deal, guys, because one, if we don't approve a budget by the end of this fiscal year, which basically ends on the end of this month, right? We have to do it before October 1st. The government will shut down, right? Which will suspend a lot of funding for vital goods and services that the government provides, right? And if we don't increase the debt limit, then that will stop us from borrowing more money and paying our debts, right? Which could lead to the U.S. defaulting, which could cause basically an economic crash across the world, right? And that is something that the Washington politicians don't want to happen. Now, the Democrats that control the White House and all of Congress crafted a bill to try to fund the government, right, through the budget and to raise the debt limit. However, Mitch McConnell, right, and the Republicans decided to kill that bill in the Senate because they don't want to raise the debt limit. Now, a lot of people have went after the Republicans hard for this, right, saying that they want the U.S. to default on its debt. And I'm here to tell you guys, that is not true at all. What's actually happening here, guys, is some political genius from Mitch McConnell that I try to tell you guys about all the time. There's a reason why this man is the leader of the Republican Party in Congress, is because the dude knows his way around legislation and strategy. And I promise you guys, what Mitch McConnell is doing is basically going to try to force the Democrats not to pass that $3.5 trillion social spending package. That's what he's trying to do, right? But before we really start talking about that and how he's going to try to force them to do that, Nancy Pelosi addressed the issue of funding the government, and she kind of said the quiet part about loud about whose agenda this actually is. Take a look.
Keep government open. We have to do those imminently, more imminently even, to address the full Obama agenda of building back better. And I love to say building back better.
All right, guys, so there you have it. That is Nancy Pelosi stating that they have to address the Obama agenda of building back better. And in my opinion, guys, that makes so much sense why she said it, because it explains why it seems like Joe Biden is nothing but a puppet, right? It seems like he is nothing but a stand-in, that he's not really calling the shots, that somebody else is really calling the shots, right? That's just kind of what it seems. Again, I'm not making any claims or anything like that. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here. I'm just saying, we've all been wondering who's really calling the shots, because Joe keeps telling us that he's not in charge, right? And we know Kamala is incompetent. She has no clue what's going on. Okay, so somebody has to be running this show, right? And Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion, gave a hint. She gave a hint. And, you know, a few months back, right, before Biden actually took office, Obama told Stephen Colbert he would like to have a third term in which, you know, he could just kind of be on the sidelines and, you know, kind of give instructions to the person that's in office through an earpiece. Take a look.
He used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with that.
So there you go, guys. I mean, Obama's basically saying, I would love to have a third term, but, you know, doing it through somebody else, right? And we all know that Joe is a puppet. The question is, who's his puppet master, right? And it could very well be Obama. I think at the very least, he definitely seeks advice and counseling from Obama. But, you know, is this Obama's agenda? That's the real question. And in my opinion, I think some aspects of it are, right? I really do. Because they're basing this whole like stimulus stuff, right, in terms of spending more money during this pandemic off the fact that they feel like they didn't spend enough under Obama's stimulus, right? When Obama was trying to get America back on track after the Great Recession. You know, people like Janet Yellen would say, hey, you know what? We didn't spend enough at the time, right? We should have spent more money and we would have been out of the recession faster. So I think that some of the things that happened in the Obama administration definitely is influencing Biden's policy, right? Now, again, you know, I don't know as far as Obama actually calling the shots. Nancy Pelosi probably just had a chip malfunction, right? She had a few screws loose, right? She needs to get her tune up. And that's probably what led to her slip up, but I don't know. I could be wrong here, right? Could have been a Freudian slip. Who knows? But regardless, the real conversation here, what I really want to talk about, guys, is the game within the game of politics, and regardless to what's going on with funding the government and suspending / raising the debt ceiling, right? There's a whole lot of politics here at play. Okay, so let me key you guys in on the game. So right now, the Democrats are trying to hassle with a lot, right? There's inter-party fighting about the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package and the $3.5 trillion social spending plan, right? The progressives want both. And they're basically saying that we're not going to pass the $1.2 trillion package unless we get to the $3.5 trillion package as well. Now, the issue is that the Democrats, the moderates, they don't want the $3.5 trillion. Okay, they just want the $1.2 trillion. So Nancy Pelosi is stuck between a rock and hard place here, trying to balance both priorities. So what's happening is that Nancy Pelosi, it seems that she's moving forward with the $1.2 trillion plan, and she's going to put that up for a vote on Thursday after missing the initial deadline, which was supposed to be yesterday, September 27th. But she's going to go ahead and put that up for a vote on Thursday, right? That's the plan. Now, if that happens, to my knowledge, they're not going to have the $3.5 trillion plan ready by then. They're just not going to. Okay, and remember, they're trying to do that through budget reconciliation. Now, this is where McConnell's genius in this situation comes in, because McConnell has basically told the Democrats in regards to the debt ceiling that, hey, you guys have to do that on your own. Now, McConnell has agreed to extend funding for the government if it's a clean bill, which means that if it's just to extend funding but not to raise the debt ceiling. The reason why McConnell's doing this, guys, is because he wants to force the Democrats to use the budget reconciliation process in order to raise the debt ceiling. Okay? The Democrats only have one more budget reconciliation for this year, right? Technically, it's for 2022, because the fiscal year starts the beginning of October. They could go ahead and do that this calendar year for next year. So McConnell is essentially trying to force the Democrats to go ahead and use that budget reconciliation for next year, right? The only one they have left, the same one that they want to use to pass the $3.5 trillion plan. That way, they don't have any more left, and that $3.5 trillion plan is dead in the water, right? That is what McConnell's doing, okay? Now, again, the mainstream media is trying to frame it as McConnell doesn't care about the U.S. defaulting. And I guarantee you, he actually does. He does not want that to happen. However, if the U.S. does default, it's going to look worse on the Democrats than it would on the Republicans, because the Democrats are the ones controlling the government, and push come to shove, they're the ones that have the ultimate power to stop the U.S. from defaulting on our debt. They just have to use budget reconciliation. That is what McConnell is doing. And that is forcing the Democrats at this point to put that as a priority and to focus on funding the government and figuring out how to raise this debt ceiling. Because Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, has said that the government could essentially run out of money, right, to pay its bills by next month, right? So sometime in the middle of October, we could start defaulting, right? We could not have the ability to pay our bills. So the Democrats have to do it now. They got to figure out now. And if the GOP maintains their footing and they refuse to work with the Democrats to raise the debt ceiling, the Democrats will be forced. They will be forced to use budget reconciliation, which again would kill the progressive $3.5 trillion bill. When you actually really analyze this from a political perspective, it's genius, right? It is genius. And that's really the only reason the whole debt ceiling thing is still a thing, right? The only reason it's still a thing and that the politicians do it every single year is because each side knows that in any given year, based off who is controlling Congress, it can be used for stuff like this, right? It can be used as a political football to do what they want, right? To play ball. And that's what McConnell's doing right now. So I want you guys to understand what's going on here. Republicans, McConnell is playing the game, right? He's playing the game, and we'll see how it works out. But essentially, again, like I said, this $3.5 trillion bill that the Democrats are trying to pass is dead, man. Like, there's so many obstacles in the way of that thing passing now, and McConnell is just continuing to apply the pressure. However, we'll see, right? We will see what happens. We'll see what the Democrats do. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.